Hello, and welcome to our brand new high school sports show, Prep-apalooza. My name is Phil Friend. I'm a reporter here at the Lansing State Journal, and next to me is our high school sports reporter, Brian Calloway. Brian, not only is high school football right around the corner, it's here. We're 2 days away from the opening night here.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I always look forward to a new high school sports season. Football is also one of those exciting times of the year as well, too, and looking forward to everything kicking off on Thursday night.
Yeah, we've got a lot to get to here in our first show here. We're going to start off with a little high school football. We'll talk about the game of the week, which is Eastern versus Owasso, and then we'll kind of move into some of the non-football teams and players to watch this year, and then we'll end the show with our high school predictions. Brian, you ready to go 90-0 this year on your regular season predictions, or no?
I'll see what I can do.
If we're going to set a Vegas line, let's say 80-10. How about that?
I can go with those odds right there.
Okay. Well, like I said, first of all, we're going to start with football. We got a big set of games here Thursday night, but we're going to look at the conferences to start things off here. We've got 2 or 3 conferences that appear to be they're going to be really tightly contested this year. Let's start with the big one here in the Lansing area, which is the CAAC Blue. You've got DeWitt, Holt, and East Lansing. Those seem to be the consensus 3 favorites here. What's kind of your take on how the conference might play out, or what maybe we should look for?
Yeah, that conference is very unique to me, especially with East Lansing. You look at them, Andrew Anthony, a guy that really blew up on the offseason on the recruiting trail, has offers from Michigan and Michigan State. I mean, that team has got a lot of talent. Their quarterback, Sam Bush, is committed to Michigan State for baseball. They have some other guys that are getting recruited as well, too, for different sports as well, too. So East Lansing is an intriguing team because of its talent. And also, it only lost twice last year, both of those losses being to DeWitt, and has a lot back. So they're an intriguing team. Holt is also an intriguing team as well, too, just because of some of the talent that they have and a lot of the experience that they have coming back as well, too, and maybe the team that could be poised to jump into the title picture after some years of struggling here. But DeWitt is the team that's kind of been the constant in this area when it comes to winning. I mean, it's spanning 3 different conferences. This program has won 13 straight league titles, going for a 14th straight this year. And it seems like no matter what they lose, they always seem to reload. And I think that's where you have to kind of start at in this conference is with DeWitt, just because of what they've been able to do over the past history under Coach Rob Zimmerman. And they also have a Division I tight end in Mason Gilbert, who's going to Eastern Kentucky. So he's an intriguing talent as well, too. So I think it'll be interesting to see if they can reload, and despite losing so many key pieces from a team that made it to the state semifinals last year in Division III.
Yeah, let's go back to East Lansing here for a second. Angelo Anthony, you talked about the big offers from Michigan State, and a number of MAC schools. He wasn't a guy that we talked about a lot last season. Kobe Hayward was kind of the guy at East Lansing that we talked a lot about. Were we just sleeping on him last season, or do you think it was an off season where he went to camps and really kind of shined through there?
Well, he's always been a kid that's had an immense amount of talent. It was just that there were some other guys in front of him. Kobe Hayward was a very talented running back, and he was kind of a key to that team. And then you had Jack Morris, who was another receiver on that team, and also the kicker that also got a lot of pub last year for the things that he was able to do for that team. But Andrell had a very good year for them. As a sophomore, had 7 TD catches, and close to 400 or 500 yards, and he was a big force in that playoff game against DeWitt that they had in the game they fell just short in as well, too. So he's always had the talent, and the East Lansing team has a lot of talent as well, too. There was just some other guys, Kobe Hayward was obviously one of those big names that we always talked about because of his game-changing ability as a running back.
Yeah, let's go to Holt here. Are they ready? Is this the year for them? And do you think they can make that happen?
I mean, this has got to be the year for them if they're going to make some noise, especially with all the experience that they have. JoJo Martinez is a senior. They got some other, upperclassmen, senior kind of guys that have been around the program, have kind of been through some of the struggles that the program has been through. They have a tough opening 4-game stretch here, and the 4th game is against DeWitt. So I think that's going to kind of tell the tale on how good this whole team can be. But there's a lot of optimism there for things, and we think that, there's a lot of people think that they can do something special this year.
All right, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Who's your pick?
I've got to go with DeWitt. Until someone beats them, you got to go with DeWitt. I mean, I know they lost quite a bit, but they have not been beaten in league play in 13 years here. So until someone knocks them off, you got to go with DeWitt.
Yeah, I'll be a little contrarian. I'll say East Lansing just for competitors' sake. Let's move on to the CAAC Red. I think you got 4 teams here that you kind of think that can win in. Hazlitt, Williamston, Mason, and St. John's. What's kind of your look of the land there in the Red? Yeah,
this league is one of the most intriguing to me in the area. Probably the most intriguing just because of some of these teams. Obviously, last year 3 teams shared the title when you look at Williamston, St. John's, and Hazlitt. But some of those teams lost a lot. You look at Williamston; they lost a lot of talent, especially on the offense side from that team that made it to the state semifinals in D4 last year. You look at Hazlitt; they lost a lot offensively as well too. When you look at Hiram Tibbetts and Jaden Thalen and Mitchell Moen, and then Williamston, they're an intriguing team because of Eston Miles, the Western Michigan lineman, and he's a beast out there, a big guy. He's a really game changer on defense for them. And St. John's has a new coach, so Andy Schmidt, former Eastern Michigan quarterback, that's come back home to lead this program, and it'll be interesting to see what he does with that team and how they look offensively as well too, because obviously St. John's has been accustomed to getting it done on the ground, so that'll be interesting. And then Mason is a team that lost a few close games last year, but they're an intriguing team in the red just because of the experience that they have coming back. So if I'm going to go out there on a limb right now, I'm looking at
that's what we want you to do here.
looking at Mason, it might be a kind of that dark horse team that maybe is sneaking up on people that maybe not necessarily people might be expecting to win the league this year, but they have some experience back, so I'm going to go with them as a pick.
Yeah, you mentioned Eston Miles from Williamston. He had 90 tackles last year as defensive tackle. Those are not numbers that you expect for a defensive tackle. And I was out at Williamston's practice 2 weeks ago, and Coach Steve Kirsten talked about they might play him a defensive end more this year instead of defensive tackle, kind of get him more out in different spaces. Like I watched his highlight tape a couple weeks ago. Man, his highlight reel is amazing.
It is amazing. His guy also had an offer from Rutgers. You talked about this in your story as well too, just the offers and interest that he had in him picking Western Michigan. But I think that's a good fit for him, and I think he can go on and make some noise at the college level.
Yeah. Last conference we'll talk about specifically, there's CAAC White. It's Portland and Lansing Catholic every year, it seems like. Is that going to change this year?
I don't think it's going to change this year. I mean, these are the two teams since 2008 or so. I mean, they're the only two teams that have won this league. And this league has a lot of change outside of those teams. Look, 3 of the programs have new coaches. When you look at Charlotte and Mike Sparks, Kevin Bennett is at Eden Rapids as well too. Ionia has a new coach, and Mike Farley as well too. So there's a little bit of unknowns with some of the new coaches there, and there's some talent at some of those other places as well too. But when it comes to this league, it kind of has run through Portland and Lansing Catholic, and Portland has had the upper hand in it the last 4 years with 4 straight league titles. And it'll be interesting to see what unfolds with this league, because both Portland and Lansing Catholic did lose quite a few pieces from last year, but these are programs that have always reloaded and continued on their winning traditions under their coaches.
Yeah. Any other conference races kind of intrigue you here, or does it feel like they're going to play like in CMAC, where PW will probably just coast to another league title?
Obama West Valley, obviously a heavy favorite, and they're just an intriguing team to watch because they're a team that lost in the regional last year, and that's unfamiliar territory for that team. So I think this is a team that's going to be very hungry. But the Black race is one of those that is intriguing to me just because of Lakewood and Olivet. Kind of like the CAAC White. They're the only 2 teams that have ever won that league, and it'll be interesting to see which one of them can come out on top, because both of those teams have intriguing offensive players back when you look at Olivet with Heath Flower and Ellen Boss back at quarterback for Lakewood.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of the top players in there. We already talked a little bit about Angel Anthony and Eston Miles, so kind of move on there from a little bit. Ethan Boyd, the big lineman from East Lansing, he's got Division I offers. You got Marshall Meter, who is going to Central Michigan as a walk-in. He's a kicker. You wrote at him earlier this summer. And then the great unknown in Corona's Nick Steinacker, a guy who has an offer for Michigan but is not on social media at all. You never see him talked about, so it's a kind of interesting. Those are some of the guys that we kind of look at, and you look at the kind of second tier. You talked about Heath Flower at Arrowvet, talked about Mason Gilbert going to Eastern Kentucky, and then talked about JoJo Martinez too. What stands out there from that group?
Nick Steinacker, like you said, is kind of the guy that got an offer from Michigan before his sophomore year last year. He was a guy that plays some receiver, but he really makes his mark on the defensive line for Corona. So he'll be an interesting guy to watch to see if he can help that Corona program that won just 1 game last year improve. And then you talk about Marshall Meter. We talked about a little bit about Andrew Anthony and him making a mark on the recruiting trail. This is a guy that made a mark on the recruiting trail, went to a whole bunch of kicking camps in the offseason, and then had kind of got his name out there, and now he's going to Central Michigan as a preferred walk-on. So he will be an intriguing weapon for Eden Rapids as they try to get back on the win column this year, and they have a weapon on special teams with him who can knock down some very long field goals here. So he's intriguing. You talk about Ethan Boyd. He's got some MAC offers as well too, and he's another one of those special talents that East Lansing does have.
Yeah, each week here on Prep-apalooza, we will feature what we'll call the LSJ Game of the Week. This is something we did last year as well. And this week, for week 1, we've got quite a different twist on kind of what we normally did for Game of the Week. We're going to head to Eastern High School, where they will take on Owasso. Eastern's opening up a brand new turf field. I was out there on Monday. It is a very nice field, and the players seem legitimately excited about it. I would be curious to see if that kind of motivates them or inspires them like that. But part of the reason we're also kind of featuring this game too is because this looks like a chance where Eastern can maybe end a big losing streak. Eastern has lost 38 games in a row, 57 of 58 games, and 71 of 74. So, yeah, it's been a tough 7-8 years for these guys, and Owasso is kind of on a similar trajectory in that. What do you think about Eastern and Owasso? And their chances there.
Yeah, definitely. Owasso, they ended a 34, 35 game losing streak at the beginning of last season when they knocked off rival Corunna in the season opening game as well, too. So that's why this game is so intriguing. It's a chance for two teams that have struggled. One of them has a chance to really get their season off on the right foot and kind of build some momentum. I mean, last year when Owasso won their first game in a few years, I mean, it was just a celebration. And I remember their coach, Devin Pringle, telling me, I mean, the players just didn't want that night to end because it was that special of a moment for them after some years of losing and just the things that transpire in school, people not necessarily wanting to be a part of it. But, I mean, they were just some of the most popular people at school that Monday after, getting back in from winning that first game in a while.
Yeah, as I said, I was out there on Monday. Let's hear from Coach Jordan Morgan and player Tracy Holbrook.
Energy has been great. Today was the first day of school, so I know the kids are excited. It's a brand new school as well, so we just got a lot of changes, a lot of good changes, a lot of new changes, which is definitely a good thing. So the kids, their attitudes are way up, their energy, excitement is all up, which just drives their effort. So it's been a good summer. We have a lot of returning seniors, and it seems like it's finally clicked that this is their last go around, and if they want to change something, this is the time. And this season, I mean, it'd be phenomenal to finish over 500. I mean, that might just be the optimism talking, but I know these kids believe in it. But in all honesty, we just got to go 1 week at a time and come out against Owasso, get that win, go out against Everett our second week, and just win one at a time.
I think this team right now, we've been growing up with each other for a long time, so we know each other well, we trust each other well. We've been going harder, we've been studying and stuff, just trying to change the culture around at Eastern. We're just really excited. We're hungry to get our first win right now.
All right, let's jump away from football here and talk about many of the other fall sports happening in the area. Brian, you want to spotlight a couple of the athletes that maybe we should keep an eye on this year?
Yeah, there's a lot of talented athletes here in the Lansing area to watch. Starting with cross country, you look at Jaden Tice from Lansing Catholic, defending Division II state champion. Alex Pinsky from Holt finished in the top 10 at the Division I state meet last year. So those are two intriguing runners. Zach Kelly from Holt, all-state goalie, had 13 shutouts last year as a junior. He's someone to watch for soccer. Volleyball, Elizabeth Norris from Corunna. Also, Aubrey and Meredith O'Gorman from Lakewood. Those are both Michigan State commits. Those are definitely some volleyball players to keep an eye on this season. Allison Swee from Okemos Girls Golf finished second individually in the state last year. She's definitely one of those golfers that you want to keep an eye on this year as well, too. So I think, those are some of the ones that definitely keep an eye on. And Mola Mole from Grand Ledge, the swimmer, she's going to Northwestern next year, has won a couple of state titles in Division I as well, too. So another athlete definitely to keep an eye on this fall.
Plenty of talent, way more than just football around here, that's for sure. What about some of the teams we should look for? Lakewood volleyball, for example, always one of the dominant teams in the state. Who else should we look out for?
Yeah, Lakewood, definitely a team that's coming off a Final Four appearance. Also, Corunna, another team coming off a Final Four appearance. Both of those teams are in the preseason Division II poll, with Lakewood number 2, Corunna's at number 9. We talked about Okemos boys tennis. They lost a few of their talented athletes because they opted not to play tennis and play out of high school, but they still should be another team, that's very dangerous once again this year, despite losing a couple of players, and they're shooting for a third straight state championship as well too. And then Okemos Girls Golf, they have a nice 1-2 punch in Allison Swee and Severa Rahendra Nicolucci as well too. So those are some teams definitely to keep an eye on.
All right, let's try to play Nostradamus here and predict how Thursday night's high school football games are going to turn out. Let's start off with the game you're going to be at, Mason at Okemos.
Yeah, Mason lost a lot of close games last year, including this game at Okemos to start the season last year. So I'm going to go with Mason in this one. I think they have a nice core of experience coming back.
Sexton and Olivet.
Yeah, this is a tough one to pick, but I'm going to go with Olivet and Heath Flower.
Reading at Pewamo, Westphalia.
Reading, the defending Division 8 state champion versus Pewamo, Westphalia team that's hungry. I like PW in this one.
Ovid Elsie at Portland.
I like Portland. They're a team that lost a lot, but I think they're going to gain some momentum in this opening week.
Another big game here, East Lansing and St. John's.
I got East Lansing. I think they have a little bit too much talent for St. John's.
The aforementioned Owasso at Eastern.
I'm going to go with the home team Eastern. I think they're going to get it done.
I like it too. I think the environment and the crowd and the new stadium, I think it's gonna do something. Lansing Catholic at Waverly.
I got Lansing Catholic in this one with Zach Gillespie making his debut as the starting quarterback on varsity.
Fowlerville at Charlotte.
You got Fowlerville.
All right, Fowler at Carson City Crystal.
Fowler's got a new coach this year, John Spicer. I think he's going to win his opening game.
And last but not least, Langsburg at Perry.
Langsburg's got a lot of talent back, so I'm going to go Langsburg in this game.
All right, well, this was the very first episode of the 2019 season of the Prep-apalooza. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Brian and I will be here every week for the entire school year to either recap the week that's passed in sport, preview the week ahead, and try to bring as much high school information to you guys as possible. Brian, any final thoughts?
You can always follow our coverage at lsj.com and at LSJ Sports, and also on our Twitter accounts as well too, at Phil_Friend and at Brian_Calloway.
Yeah, you know what? I probably should have said that instead of you, but that works for the first episode. We'll work out the rough edges after there. Thank you for watching.